years down the line, and the president has just reminded Sierra Leoneans that we should be very careful in how we use our economy, our finances, and that he is aware that things are really difficult for Sierra Leoneans. What do you think of Sierra Leone celebrating independence? At first, was it necessary for Sierra Leone to even go for independence?
Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm.
Because our forefather actually fought for it, and that was a spread of democracy and governance system that every country should become independent. If you look at Liberia, they became independent more than 200 years ago, from the American rule. So people were actually urging their colonial master, France, Great Britain, Portugal, as the case may be, to relinquish their powers to them. And indeed, they did. Some of them fought bravely for their independence. For Sierra Leone, we didn't fight. We used our fathers used their knowledge, their strengths, their agreement and disagreement, and peacefully we were able to get the Queen of England and the government of England to allow Sierra Leone to become an independent state on the 27th of April 1961. So indeed it was necessary that we get the independence, and we got it at that time because it was part of the world agenda, just like we're talking about democracy across the world now. Every state, every nation wants to be a democratic state to maintain peace, unity, and progress in all their countries around the world. So the point of independence was also a grammar call for every country, every nation to get independent, and I think almost every nation got it. Not at the same time, gradually from one country to another,
So
starting from Liberia.
let's talk about Sierra Leone gaining independence and how far we've come in making sure we put things in place that actually keep us together as a nation. 65 years, we've got wars in Sierra Leone, we've had the rebel incursion or whatever you call it. We have other issues, we've got Ebola, we've got Corona, so many challenges, and now the president is calling on us to be mindful of how we manage our finances, and that he is aware that things are really a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I wonder how many people actually can remember or know that the great America, United States of America, was one colonized by the Great Britain. And America, world of independence, they actually have to fight to get themselves out of Britain. As we are talking, the King of England and the Queen are in the United States of America, showing their unity with a country that once colonized them. So it does happen. On the basis of Sierra Leone, especially President Bio's speech, I think President, in my view, I will have to summarize it. His speech was full of facts, it was full of hope, and it was full of promises for the future. On the issue of the fact, the President, His Excellency Bio, was very, very blunt to say that 65 years of independence, as we are talking now, the country is still facing massive infrastructural, also developmental challenges. That's no doubt about it. He spoke about countries still not able to get electricity, regular supply of electricity, regular supply of water. Our infrastructures are still quite challenging, as the case may be. However, he also promised that there is hope, and that hope foundations continue to be laid from one government to another, that in future, Sierra Leone will actually rise up to the occasions that our forefather promises us the kind of independence.
But Mr. Mahmoud, do you think 65 years down the line, you think we've really made progress? If you are to do a comparative analysis of countries we got independence almost the same time.
Yeah, no, quite.
The pace at which we've moved as a country, comparing us to, for example, Ghana got her independence in 1957, Guinea in 1958, Nigeria in 1960. But then if you look at, you know, the gap between us and these countries, you can really understand that we have a lot more work to do.
Yeah, no doubts about that. I can actually tell you. But also let's accept one fact. 65 years of independence, Sierra Leone still united. Our name has not been changed. We are still living as a country. In spite of most of the challenges we have gone through and we are still going through, notable among them is the 11-year civil war. Sierra Leone was actually not divided. We are not partitioned. If you go down to Sudan now, as we sit, the kingdom of Sudan is divided into 3 sections. You have the South Sudan, you have a Sudan in Khartoum, and you have another Sudan that is governed by another warlord, you know. So Sierra Leone actually not being partitioned.
Sierra Leone is a new, Sudan you are talking about is a very new.
Yeah, no, this is what I'm saying.
Sudan, South Sudan, you know, came into being as South Sudan in 2011. So it is relatively a very
I'm just answering to your question that indeed we have made progress. We are still united as a country. Our country has not been divided. However, you know, following that, for some of us looking at the development of Sierra Leone, it's our candid view that Sierra Leone should have actually made much more development than we are now in every field. And I always say this, you know, for 65 years we only have one stadium, national stadium, built for nearly 8 million people. For 65 years, we continuously, almost every 1 or 2 years, continue to rehabilitate that stadium. And the last rehabilitation actually started perhaps 2019, 2020, as we are sitting here for nearly 6-7 years. That just rehabilitation, and it's 25-seater, we have not been able to complete it. Like the president said, and that's why I said he was actually factually true, we're still grumbling with electricity. We have not got the one that we wanted, in spite of the fact that they are being increased. There is still struggle for water supply, you know, as we are sitting both in the city and in the provinces. We are still struggling with infrastructural development, you know, both in the city and in the provinces. You understand? We are still fighting with which kind of democracy, governance system can we go along with. These are the kind of fighting we are still doing. But let's look at it about. Part of our deterioration as a country is actually emanated from our colonial masters. Our colonial masters, the British, never helped Sierra Leone. Only help they did to us was to give us independence, you know, and because they stayed here for quite some time, and we are only here interested in our resources and to get our people, you know, obey their command. They actually did not bother to build infrastructure.
But then don't you think what is happening today is as a result of how it all started?
Yeah, no,
how we got our
this one,
you know, many believe that we got our independence on a silver platter.
Yeah, no, this one.
That is why probably we are not taking it seriously.
Yeah, no, not we alone. Not we alone. But the British, those who colonized us, you know, and I want to link you to the other colonizers. If you go to the French speaking country, you go to the Portuguese. A lot of the structures that are built in Abidjan, that are built in Burkina Faso, that are built in Maputo in Mozambique, were actually structured left behind by their colonial masters. That did not happen in Sierra Leone.
But Mr. Mambu, when we say even the few that the British left, we've not been able to maintain them.
Yeah, this is also correct, and that's why I say we have had systematic failure in terms of maintaining our infrastructure and improving on them. In fact, some of them we even destroyed them. For instance, the railway. The railway was actually destroyed because of political and other reasons. So as of today, we are not able to replace them. We brought in the buses to take care of our road transport when for 65 years we are not able to a large extent to maintain those buses and also maintain the roads and the bridges. You understand? So what the colonial masters did not do, And when they handed over independence to our people were also not able to manage the natural resources.
So in other words, are you saying that we were not ready?
Yeah, no, I can't say we are not ready. We were. At the point of independence, we have the most educated people in Africa. Sir Miti Magai, Sir Abat Magai, and a lot of others. We are highly educated. Our readiness starts with the educational background of the people, their knowledge internationally. And these people I'm calling, and many others, you understand, including many prominent women, were highly educated.
So,
these were people that have trouble. However, they were not able to transform, to translate their education, their ability to govern us properly and maintain our country and increase, especially provision of modern infrastructure.
But then the history of knighted prime ministers, after independence, I mean, knighted prime ministers, you are like puppets, to Buckingham Palace. So it's like they didn't have the guts, to stand up to what they believe.
Yeah, no, I don't subscribe to that. They did have, they had the full power to govern Sierra Leone, but along the line, their major interest was actually to maintain power, especially after 1961. You understand? And we have the period where we came again, we have the issue of APC and SLPP. So the focus was not to develop Sierra Leone, as a state that the children of this country will actually be proud of. They concentrated more in fighting for power. As a result of those fighting, by 1998, we came to a one-party state of the All People's Congress. For 24 misused years, Sierra Leone was dumped. For 24, and that one cumulated to what? 11 years of brutal war, which also destroyed the little that our colonizers actually left behind. The roads, the bridges, and other infrastructure, they were also destroyed. The military also came in, you understand? So from the civilian rule of former President Ahmed Tidiane Kaba, of 1996, 2000, up to date, when we are having a continuous democracy and civilian rule, it's just a struggle for all of them to get us to a position where we are. When in fact our foundation have totally been destroyed. Right from independence up to 24 misuse year, up to 11 years of rebel war, and up to today, they cannot easily fix them the way that was. That's why we are grumbling on, and that's why I say we are happy because President's speech, on Monday was full of the fact, because this fact actually, most of them actually came out, and he himself, as a president, recognized the economic hardship that the people of this country are currently going through.
Now you are coming from the civil society background. You have been in this space for more than 2 decades. But who do you think is responsible for the current state of Sierra Leone?
No, it's
civil society organizations are supposed to be watchdogs, but what we are seeing now, most of them are either aligned with the ruling government or the opposition, which means you've not been able to do much, so that you serve as watchdog to get the people on their toes so they do the right thing for the people of Sierra Leone.
Yeah, no, you use the phrase watchdogs. When you become a watchdog, you are not a dog. So which means you are not the person that bites. You only watch at somebody that bites. And the one that bites has the teeth. If you are not careful, they can even turn around and bite you.
So is that why the civil society organization?
Yeah, no, I'm just describing the phrase that to you. Which means as a civil society, we are not the governor. We are not governing. You understand? We are looking at the general governance system of the country. But that doesn't mean you can advise. Being a presidential advisor doesn't mean you are the president. You can advise him. You can tell him what you need. The civil society.
But now you've been accused. You've been accused. I mean, I'm not saying you as Charles Mamu, because I know you've been in this space, for over 2 decades and half even. Now, some civil society activists or organizations are being accused of aligning, like Francis said. It's like they no longer have the courage, to speak truth to power. Some of them are either
Are state captured already.
Well,
Some of them. Yes.
well, so that is what the thing is that this pace and the, before this time, civil society organizations were very active, very vibrant. But it seems as though they are now quiet.
Yeah,
they've gone underground.
Yeah,
What is happening?
Yeah, this is our perception. As I sit here, I've been awarded as a member of the Order of the Rocket twice. You understand? First by President Ahmed Jankaba for saying the truth. In fact, one time he told me, Mr. Mambu, even if you see the lie now, we can believe because we have said a lot of truth. You understand? Some of us met for the Sanko and a lot and participated in everything that we end the war and also bring about development to this country. So saying civil society, no, that's not the case. We still have so many vibrant civil society. We are talking, we are engaging, we are participating with the governance system at every level, in parliament, in judiciary, at the executive level. However, you should also know your line. Your line of action. If you believe in the Constitution, 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone, then you should know where you have to start and where you have to stop. And you have to allow some other person to take on it. So which means civil society cannot act as
Are you retired?
No, it's not. No, I'm just giving a general framework. No, just wait, Sheku. You have to wait. No, just wait, Sheku. Civil society is not parliament. I'm just telling you, there is parliament. We are working with them, but that doesn't mean we are
supposed to be. You are supposed to be a pressure outside parliament.
Yeah, no, we have. We have even done it. We have civil society and the media that have been parliamentarians. You understand? We have civil society and the media that have occupied some of the best positions within APC and SLPP. If you look like the likes of Honorable Ibi Kabu and many others, you understand? They entered parliament, they entered into political parties of APC and SLPP and so on. Since independence up to this day, you can talk when you are in and out, you understand? But that doesn't mean you're going to take the bull by the hand. You're going to implement the program and the progress. Parliament have an agenda. Parliament have an leadership. So also in the judiciary, you have the Attorney General, you have the Chief Justice. We work with these people. You can advise. But can you say if they take a decision you are not satisfied with, when in fact others are satisfied with, can you say no, you're going to, let's look at the sacking of the former vice president? Can you say civil society because we disagree with it, we were in position to reverse it? No, you cannot. You understand? So also with the work with the executive and the presidency, there are things you can advise the president. You can write press releases. You can talk as we are doing continuously every day. As you are talking to me, I'm just coming from 5 districts. I came last night when I was invited to this program, looking at programs. You know, on Saturday we were in Pujan with the president, launching and commissioning road project and bringing. You understand? So there are advices you can give them, they can't go by it. But there are others they cannot because they have the constitutional mandate from the people of Sierra Leone to govern Sierra Leone according to the constitution. They may not be doing the way that is being said. But that doesn't mean you can take their power, which means you can usurp their own power. No, you advise them, you work with them, you don't work for them.
We'll come back to you, Charles Mambu. Charles Mambu is the chairman of civil society and human rights activists in this country. In fact, it is a coalition. Thank you so much for your update, and we shall be coming back to you. But then we continue with the program, and the program you are still watching is Good Morning Sierra Leone, live from a broadcasting house near Englandville in Freetown. Now, today on Good Morning Sierra Leone show, we have Isaac Shakubayo, a Sierra Leonean diplomat, youth leader, and policy strategist who serves as the youth representative of to the United Nations and lead experts on youth, peace and security at the permanent mission of Sierra Leone to the United Nations. Appointed under the leadership of His Excellency Julius Maada, he forms part of Sierra Leone's diplomatic corps in New York, where he provides high-level strategic and technical support in the country's delegation while helping to elevate Sierra Leone's voice within international decision-making spaces. In this role, Mr. Bayo played an active part during Sierra Leone's 2024-2025 tenure on the United Nations Security Council with a strong focus on advancing the meaningful inclusion of youth voices at global peace and security decisions or discussions. He was part of Sierra Leone's mission team that helped shape negotiations leading to the unanimous adoption of United Nations Security Council Resolution 2807 on youth, peace and security, a landmark resolution reinforcing the role of young people as essential partners in peace building, conflict prevention and sustainable peace. Well, good morning in the studios. Good morning and welcome to the program, Mr. Bayo.
Good morning, Sheikh.
So how has it been, representing all of us, at that level? I mean, the United Nations, an organization that was formed after the Second World War, and it has been in existence now for 81 years. Us, you representing us at that level, what does it mean?
First of all, it's been an honor, and I'd have to thank His Excellency President Julius Maada for the bigger commitment to human capital development and to youth inclusion in giving spaces to young Sierra Leoneans to contribute to nation building.
So now, tell us your experience based on this short resume I've just read, or dossier about you. You've been during Sierra Leone's tenure at the United Nations Security Council. You are very active. Tell us some of the things you did, and how do you relate with youth back home?
Okay, part of my work at the Permanent Mission of Sierra Leone to the UN combines policy support, research, stakeholder engagement, and advancing Sierra Leone's priorities within multilateral spaces in ensuring that young people's voices, especially young Sierra Leoneans' voices in international decisions are reflected, including jobs, civic participation, sustainable development goals, and showcasing that Sierra Leone, even though a small nation, can constructively amplify leadership on the global stage.
Okay, Isaac, so let's talk about the Sierra Leone's tenure at the Security Council. How significant was that?
It was highly significant. I would start by saying that Sierra Leone's tenure on the UN Security Council was not symbolic at all. It was strategic. Sierra Leone led a constructive and able voice in championing Africa's priorities, in championing multilateral coalition, and especially the powerful and meaningful inclusion of young people within multilateral spaces, which led to the unanimous adoption of Resolution 2807, which is on youth, peace and
So let's talk about what exactly is the youth, peace and security agenda.
The youth, peace and security agenda in the United Nations recognizes young people not only as beneficiaries of peace building, but as builders of peace building. That when you include young people within statecraft, you have a more innovative, more stable, and more resilient societies.
Okay, so how does young people from Sierra Leone, because you are just there to represent them, how beneficial is your representative to that council to young people back home?
It tells a significant story because I am an ordinary young Sierra Leonean with an uncommon belief that where you started should not define where you finish in life. And this road is like me holding a machete and I'm in front of a bush. I'm the one clearing a pathway. And it is a tremendous responsibility being able to have that power to speak for about 2.8 million people in Sierra Leone on the global stage. And that comes with responsibility, and that comes with constructive and strategic approach in how I'm able to translate global opportunities into meaningful outcomes.
But then how do you relate back home, Mr. Bayo? Because the thing is that you are representing the young people of Sierra Leone, and the expectation is that once you're there, your activities should be known to young people here in this country. Now they know that yes, we have somebody representing us. So how much do you relate
So much so, just recently we concluded the visit of United Nations Assistant Secretary General of Youth Affairs. Last year, I was at the Unfiltered and promised young people of Sierra Leone that we will bring the UN to Sierra Leone to focus more on youth issues. When the ASG of Youth Affairs came, that was his first time in Africa, and he chose Sierra Leone to be his first point of contact to reassure young Sierra Leoneans that the work that Sierra Leone is doing on the global front is slowly conceptualizing and compounding our impactful roles within the Security Council. And now that we've been elected to the Economic and Social Council, we're pioneering on.
Now, what is the relationship between you as ambassador to the United Nations to, for example, the Ministry of Youth, the National Youth Commission,
Yes.
you know, the Youth Aid to the President? I mean, how do you relate? Because the thing is that all of you have a common interest, and that common interest, you know, is to represent young people in this country. So there should be this synergy.
Yes.
So how much do you synergize?
There is a lot of synergy, and I am grateful for the leadership of my minister, Honorable Ibrahim Sana. I work under the leadership of the Youth Ministry, and also under the leadership of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. My work is solely diplomatic and policy space in making sure that policies and resolutions and discussions that is being made internationally, that Sierra Leone secures that space and also lends a voice in shaping international
But then
decisions.
how is Sierra Leone perceived, you know, internationally? Because, you know, there are certain countries, you know, in this world. You go, people here, you know, people hardly know about Sierra Leone, you know, and at that level, you meet with every other country at the United Nations. How much do you really brand or market Sierra Leone? Because Sierra Leone really is not known much.
Well,
Yeah, it's not
I
known
can
much
tell you now.
comparatively to other countries.
Well,
So how much do you market this country?
Yes.
And how is Sierra Leone in your own, you know, perspective, or how you look at it? You know, how is Sierra Leone perceived at the international stage?
I would have to thank our chief diplomat, who is His Excellency President Julius Madabio, because during and after our tenure on the United Nations Security Council, our diplomatic standing is well respected. Sierra Leone is being seen as a voice for stronger African unity in building our coalition for a permanent African seat within the United Nations Space for Reform that President Bio championed in that regard. And also, more so, Sierra Leone is being seen as a voice known for peace building from our experiences from our wars and how we have been able to transition into a peaceful society that is able to democratically elect our leaders, but more so, including young people in the redefinition of our green, white, and blue.
Okay, Isaac, continue to stay with us. We'll definitely come back to you. He is Isaac Sheku Bayo, and he is youth leader and policy strategist and youth representative of Sierra Leone to the United Nations. This is Good Morning Sierra Leone. We are broadcasting live from Broadcasting House, New Englandville in Freetown. You send your comments, questions, and views if you have them for Mr. Mambo or Mr. Bayo in the studio. But now we take our health tips, and we definitely have to look after our health, and let's learn some new things about health today. In today's health tips, we take a look at what are buggers and why do we have them. Buggers are one way your body filters out germs, dust, pollen, and mold, mucus or snot, traps nasty stuff in the air. When it hardens, you get buggers. Take a look at this video and learn from it.
They're sticky. They're crusty. They're, well, kind of gross. And yet, boogers are totally normal. And you have them for a reason, to help protect you from getting sick. Here's how. Boogers start out as mucus. That's the sticky, slippery stuff your body makes every single day. You may know it as snot or phlegm. Your body makes mucus to help protect you from particles in the air, like pollen, dust, viruses, and bacteria. When you breathe, all that yucky stuff gets in your nose. But thanks to mucus, it gets stuck there. Because snot works like quicksand. It traps the gunk that can get you sick. So when you blow your nose, out comes the snot and all the nasty particles it caught. Most mucus quietly slides down your throat without you even noticing. But when it sits around and starts to dry out, it gets thick and hard. And boom, you've got boogers. The front of your nose is the prime booger zone. That's where the air dries things out fastest. Your mucus may thicken faster or dry out more often if you have allergies or congestion or if the air is dry. If you're dealing with frequent crusties, try saline spray or a humidifier. They can moisten up boogers so they slide out easier. As for picking them out, we've all been there, whether you want to admit it or not. But constant nose picking can irritate the inside of your nose and cause nosebleeds or infections, especially if your hands aren't clean. Best to stay hands off. Next time you find a booger, don't be too grossed out. Give your nose a little thanks. It's been working hard to keep the bad stuff out. And if your nose is always stuffy, irritated, or full of crust, talk with a healthcare provider. They can help you find some relief.
I guess you've learned a lot from that short video. This is Good Morning Sierra Leone, and before we went for that health tips, we are talking to Isaac Sheku Bayo, Sierra Leone's youth representative to the United Nations. We continue the program. We still have Mr. Mambu with us in the studio. Now, Mr. Mambu, the president, according to you, has been very honest to say yes, he is aware that Sierra Leoneans are going through challenges. However, now we are looking into the future. What do you think should be done to get Sierra Leone to where it's supposed to be? Because many people have the feeling that in the first place we are not supposed to go for independence because of all what happened after the independence. Leaders were not able to maintain even the few structures that our colonial masters left with us. They were not able to maintain it, and right from that we've seen where every government after another have been doing their bits, but they've not been able to get the people of Sierra Leone to where they are supposed to be, to the extent that we don't even have basic amenities like water, electricity, good health facilities. We don't have enough. You just spoke about the stadium. 65 years, we just one old stadium.
Thank you very much. I think before I go to that, let me, throw light a bit on the question Brother Sheku asked our colleague from the UN. Let me say this. Sierra Leone, no matter how poor we are and little we are in our population, small as we are, Sierra Leone is one of the most notable countries noted in this world than any other. Sierra Leone is present in almost every other country, A, for the good reason, and B, for the wrong reason. In terms of for the wrong reason, Sierra Leone has hosted the largest United Nations peacekeeping forces, about 17,000, and they came from all over the world, and they stayed on here for more than 3 to 4 years. You understand? So Sierra Leone is actually, Sierra Leone has been had so many big positions at the UN. For instance, Dr. James Jonah was the UN's Undersecretary General, and he stayed here for quite some time. Our former president, President Kabah, was also a diplomat working at the United Nations. You understand? Dr. Zainab Hawaka Bangura, is also a Director General of WANEM at the United Nations, and she has traveled to every part of. So, look, Sierra Leone's name is on the record card of every country in this world. It might be for the good, some may be for the good, and others may be for the bad reason. But definitely Sierra Leone is actually known across the country. On the issue of what President said, yes, we are just rephrasing what he actually said. President Bio himself acknowledges the fact, and he accepted it, that Sierra Leone is actually, Sierra Leoneans and our people, we are going under tremendous economic constraints, across for the last 65 years. Some are internal and others are external. And those that are external cannot be corrected easily by even the government of Sierra Leone. For instance, it was not President Bio that told President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to go and attack Iran, so that the Strait of Hormuz will be closed. We have more than 10% of the world oil patches, including those that supply us and then as well. As we are talking, prices are going up in the United States of America every day. There is demonstration in America every day on the increase of the prices, because they have not realized that the peace that their president spoke about earlier when he was about to be elected, which is President Trump, has actually been transformed into war. So Sierra Leone is not a village. Every community, every country, we are intertwined and we are connected. It was not designed by our people, by the world. It was designed by Allah himself, who actually created all of us, that you are going to live together. Just a small boundary can actually divide you, but that boundary can be overtaken. Vehicles crosses, people crossing, aeroplane crosses the boundary, train crosses this way. So, in fact, if you look at economically, the world is closer. We are all together. So what affects America in a second affects Sierra Leone in a second. What affects Great Britain in a minute affects Sierra Leone and affects any other country across the world. What is actually a difference is how do you manage the affection, the negative affection of another person on your own people and your own country. And that's what we are saying. And that's why I said, and the president said, that we are actually, people are going through under economic constraints.
Okay, now, Mr. Mambu, as a country at 65, and we know the difficulties, we know challenges this country is going through. You just mentioned, and you also alluded that a lot of things that we need to do were not done. Some we have done halfway, some we have not even started. But then moving forward as a country after 65 years, what do you expect of all of us? I mean, from the politicians, the civil society activists, the journalists, everybody. Because it's like, it's right now, what is needed is collective efforts as a country. You're going to say not in business, not everybody's business. But then, what do we do to get out of this?
You know what?
Really, Mr. Mambu, you've traveled a lot across the world. You've seen countries. Countries, I think, was far much better than, and now better off, comparatively. So what do we need to do as a nation to get out of this?
Quite definitely, Brother Sheku. And this is what normally I tell people. Especially from former President Anis Baikoma and to President Madabio, these two gentlemen and leaders have traveled to almost every country in the world. And when they go there, let's look at Rwanda. Rwanda went into war in 1994. More than 1 million people were actually killed. And within a very short time, Rwanda was actually transformed into a paradise on earth. Many times, our president, our leaders, our politicians, both APC, they are going visiting this country. Do you think when they visit those countries, their eyes are blinded? For they know they are not. They actually see them. They actually see what is happening, and they have discussion with the leadership. How are you transforming your country? You understand? We need to see more of those transformations. More of the benefits they are moving out of this country so that it can be translated. But let's also agree on the fact. Like I said, I'm somebody that travel across Sierra Leone than any other poor country. As only other person currently, at international front, I've gone up more than 60 countries. I've attended many conferences, both in every country that you can think of. I have seen things. Things have seen me. You understand? And we are coming back.
And we are still seeing things.
Yes, we are still seeing things. So we are looking at what is happening on the ground. How can Sierra Leone be transformed? I think one of the biggest things that we need to do is how do we maintain our peace and unity. This is also because political disagreement are the key factor that actually disturb our development.
Now you mentioned Rwanda. By the time we were fighting here in this country, they were also fighting. Although ours lasted, it took much more time.
Yeah,
but it was in 1994.
Yeah.
Now, 1994, and in the same 1994, the war ended.
Okay.
But then, since then, You just said.
Yeah, no.
You made significant
Yeah, no.
progress.
If you go into it,
No, what I'm saying, you made significant progress.
Indeed,
I don't hear.
indeed.
We keep on referencing the war.
Okay.
A war that has ended over 20 years ago.
Okay.
We keep referencing, the war, the war. How long are we going to be referencing the war?
You know, I think if you do international relations like some of us, you can understand why the North Atlantic Organization, NATO, is still in camp. They established NATO to bring about unity and security for Europe and America after the Second World War. But NATO is still kept. NATO is still kept, so which means Europe is still being destroyed as a result of the Second World War. When you go to Japan, the atomic bomb that was actually dropped on the people of Japan by the Great America, those people are still suffering, even generation coming out of there. So what we went through immediately after independence, you understand? The long one-party states, the war and its consequences are still affecting us. But let me give you a small synopsis on Rwanda. Rwanda, as we are sitting, are practicing constructive dictatorship in terms of democracy. They have a man that he alone has been there for the last 20 or more years, Paul Kagame. That is not Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone will change its leader. And during the process of changing leader, we don't even recognize those who came after us. You understand? We don't recognize them. When a new government takes over Sierra Leone, all while they can preach to the people, and that's why their citizens will buy. Oh, this government was corrupt. This government was a dictatorship. This government committed human rights abuses and the rest of it. And they do not preach development to the eyes of the people and unity. They actually focus a lot of their time on the wrongs of their past. So when we are here, the youths, the women, and the rest of the citizens will now follow the negative preaching that the government that takes over will come with it. So, this is different. Just wait, madam. This is different in Rwanda. That's why that's why some people tell us, let us protect our democracy. Let us shape our democracy, because the kind of democracy that works in America and the UK, sometimes it doesn't work. We are talking about
it is now 30 years.
Yeah, no,
let me come, Mr. Mamu. You understand? It is now 40 years since Sierra Leone returned to democracy. From 1996 to now is 30 years. 30 years of stable democracy, although a few years we are interrupted during the Jacoban era. But the thing is that, don't you think within these 30 years...
No,
let me come.
No, I want to disagree with you that it was now, after independence we had elections. That was democracy.
No,
one of the parameters of democracy is
I'm talking about the return.
Yeah, no, this is what I'm saying. It started right from that level.
No, what I'm saying, I'm talking about from 1996 to now.
Okay.
The return of democracy.
No, the second phase of democracy. Even where we came back was democracy.
That is what I'm saying, Mr.
Okay, so Mr. Mambu, now with all what you're saying, political parties or governments after another keep saying the wrong thing to their supporters. They will say, okay, that past government was not doing anything serious, we are better. But when they are in office, they do the contrary. But there comes in the need for a very strong, active and unbiased civil society. Because if the government is preaching hate messages, or the government is sending out messages that are not supposed to be given to people, then we actually, it's now time for the civil society organizations to preach the correct message to the people, but that is not happening.
Yeah, no, it is actually happening, I will tell you. You know, just like I'm talking about Rwanda, what civil society is doing here, you can't do it in Rwanda. Like we are even talking here as a civil society.
But you have the space.
Yeah, no, that space is not in Rwanda.
No,
in spite of their development. You know, so that's why I want to say thanks to Sierra Leone. In spite of our poverty, Sierra Leone, the civil society has a space. You understand? The part 5 of 1965, Public Order Act was repealed. Death sentences have been repealed. You understand? The Giwi Bill has been enacted. you understand, calling for 30% of women representation across the board, from politics to private sector development. No, you have to say, we may not be doing all that is needed for just like the government, because we don't have the resources and we don't have the power. Civil society is also under the law, under the constitution of Australia. So there is no need we can go above.
They've always been under the law.
It does. So I will tell you, for civil society, I'm an African representative of the Citizens Against Terror, with headquarters in Spain. Every quarter we are there looking at civil society across the world. I will actually tell you with evidence supported by my president for over 15 years at that board, that we are more better in terms of political space, civil space, than many countries in the world.
Mr. Mabu, that is the space that we are talking, that you are actually not using that space.
No, we are. But we cannot replace government as well. We should understand that. Civil and political right, you should understand where your right and obligation start and where it ends. And where it ends is where the other person stay. And that person is the government of Australia. That is why government of Australia will not change. It is parties and leaders that will change. Government of Australia, before independence, during independence, up to today, government of Australia is static. You understand? So we're doing our part.
Is not in our favor. We still have our youth representative of Sierra Leone to the United Nations, Sheikh Isaac Sheku Bayo, in the studios with us. Now, Mr. Bayo, let's talk about what advice would you give to young Sierra Leoneans and your very self, because from every indication, this generation has failed our young people. We've failed them, and we need a new page if we really want to see Sierra Leone on a different level. What advice do you have for the young people of Sierra Leone?
My advice to the young people of Sierra Leone is that don't underestimate your future based on your current circumstances. I want young people of Sierra Leone to build their skills, refine it again and refine it again, and be able to safeguard your reputation and build brand equity. Deal in strategic discipline of your character, and just know that anywhere that you find yourself, bring professionalism, bring excellence, and you will tell me again later that you will enter any room that your mind puts at you beyond your wildest imagination.
Let's talk about you searching for opportunities for young people, because if you look at what is happening, our young people are dying just in search of greener pastures. Some want to travel to other parts of the world because they think in Sierra Leone it's not working. So let's talk about opportunities. As a representative of youth in Sierra Leone to one of the highest bodies in the world, let's talk about you searching for opportunities and how fair will it be to be shared among young people, not only because they belong to where you belong, they coming from your region, irrespective of their region, their tribe, and the political parties they are supporting.
I'll have to say there are many challenges affecting young people across the world. Limited access to jobs, to financing, to platforms that gives them opportunity. What we have and what I see in Sierra Leone is the tremendous energy of young Sierra Leoneans, their creativity, their humor, and the way they navigate challenges and turns it into opportunities. What I can say is that our greatest challenge in Sierra Leone is tapping into that and unlocking that potential at scale. Okay,
thank you very much, Sheku. Continue to stay with us. Well, it's now time for us to go through the papers, and I'll start with the Africa 24 newspaper. Sierra Leone at 65, Gentle Group cushions national economy. Disgraceful NCRA headquarters swim in blackout. These and more you find in the Africa 24.
Well, from there I move on to the Spectator. The Spectator newspaper says calls for a political third force intensify. National security and central intelligence bill sails through Parliament. These are the main stories in the Spectator newspaper.
From the Spectator, we'll go to the New Vision. The New Vision newspaper. For Sierra Leone's development agenda, World Bank ED reaffirms strong support. And we owe you more than speeches. This is quoting President Bill. And President Bill tells African youths These and more you'll find in the New Vision newspaper.
Well, from there I move on to the pyramid. The pyramid says SLPHA, that is reviews bats rehab project. That is what the pyramid says. Also here, $15.3 million education initiative launched in Freetown. These are some of the stories in the pyramid.
For my final paper for today is the Standard Times newspaper. Standard Times: youth are not spectators but drivers of growth. This is quoting Vice President Juliet Chalo and World Day for Safety and Health at Work. These and Honorable Rosalind J. Smith as APC in National Deputy Chair. These stories plus more you find in the Standard
Well, my
Times.
final paper here is the A to Z newspaper. A to Z says DP Jallo urges for national pride and community ownership. Sierra Leone hosts landmark ECOWAS LPG Lodge. Well, that is the final paper for today, and that is how we say goodbye. It has been Good Morning Sierra Leone, which came to you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation Television. Many thanks to the entire production team, especially producer Daphne Zainab Kamara. But then, before going, I must say belated independence, 65th independence to all of us. I mean, all of us in the studio.
We are still in the independence mode.
This is the week. But I must say, it was on the 27th, but the Union Jack was lowered and the green, white, and blue was hoisted, marking the start of self-rule. Well, that is how we say goodbye. Good morning, Sierra Leone returns tomorrow.
My name is Francis Paname. Thanks to our studio guests, Mr. Mambo and Mr. Bayo. Do have a lovely and wonderful day. Good morning.
Good morning.
As a mother of the house, whenever I want to prepare palm soup, there's no need pounding palm fruit. All I need is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. My soup is done, and its preparation, it is not difficult at all. Nkulenu palm soup base, it's easily done with no difficulties. Just take few ladles and your soup is done. And its flavor, it's amazing. This is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. And this is Nkulenu's Ghana's original spiced palm soup base. Iron fruit and turkey berries are naturally added.
Also available Brown Gold Natural Cocoa Powder, Sunny Gold Brown Sugar, Neat Fufu Flour, Shito, Pisa and Moringa. All available at Nyami Ado Enterprise 1